Hey, what is going on, everyone? This is Greg, your co-host to the Grilling to Get Away podcast, and today I am joined by my good friend Ben. Ben, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast with me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Ben, you and I connected. I think it was on Instagram as well. You're doing some awesome stuff with some other veteran organizations, and you also have a little background in barbecuing and grilling. So, why don't you just tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and how you got started into the barbecue and grilling world?
Currently the executive director for a nonprofit that my wife and I started called the 90 Degree Ascent. That's kind of been my project that I've taken over recently. My other project that I got recently is we have a 5-month-old. So
Ah,
being 45 and starting over again has been another life-changing experience. I got a 14 and 11-year-old. So kind of thought I was getting close to, pushing them out the door and got another little one. So
starting over.
yeah, joined the Marine Corps out of high school. So part of
Semper
first battalion,
Fi.
first Marine. Was an 0341 Mortarman out at Camp Pendleton. Did that out of high school, got out for a while, and then got back into the National Guard. So I've actually been on active duty in the National Guard now since 2010.
Wow.
Um, so kind of dwindling that down and then getting the nonprofit spun up. So my background in barbecuing really started after my time in the Marine Corps. When you're in high school and stuff, I didn't really get into it. My dad was always kind of the one that just threw some charcoal on the grill, threw a couple patties on the grill, and that was about it. Once I got off active duty, started getting into it a little bit more, but then life again kind of got in the way. So I went away from more of the traditional charcoal and saved up my money. And 20 years ago, I was actually thinking about this before coming on the podcast. I bought a Weber gas grill that
All right.
I still have today. It's sitting in the backyard. It's been to 3 different houses with me now, and it still works great. So I kind of have a hard time getting away from that. I've thought about, every time I go to Lowe's or Home Depot or anywhere, and you see the smokers and some of the better materialist stuff that's out there. I get excited like, oh, I got to do this. But then between family, baby, nonprofit, we just had a big training exercise this past week. So I actually was gone last week, Wednesday through Sunday. It's real easy for me just to fire up that gas grill and get going. So
Oh, for sure, man. So you said you were with First Battalion, First Marines. Is that what I heard?
yes,
Yeah.
yep, out of Camp Oro.
What what years were you there from?
96 through 2000.
Okay, so I just missed you. Yeah, I was with 1-7. I spent a little bit of time at Pendleton for like squad leaders and course and stuff like that. So that was like 2004. So I just missed you, but no, that's awesome. Thanks for your service, Semper Fi. But then you kept going, man. You're still active duty in the National Guard. That's awesome. And that's out in
Yeah,
Michigan, right?
yep, yep,
Okay.
yeah. Instructor for our OCS program right now. So I wear the black hat and run around and yell at all the new officer candidates. So I'm feeling my age though, being 45 and sleeping out in the field. It got down to like 38 at night and it was only like 40,
Uh,
48, 49 during the day. So
yeah.
I'm definitely feeling it, but it's still fun to run around with those young kids
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. I can only imagine my time with doing that stuff is over. So kudos to you for keeping going. So you got the Weber, the propane, 20 years, man. That's a long time for a
Yeah.
propane. You
And
must
I
be
haven't,
keeping good care of it.
yeah, I haven't changed a thing on it. Gets a good cleaning, a couple times a year.
Yeah.
I'm on my 3rd cover for it right now. So,
Okay.
but yeah, it stays outside during the winter. I
Mm,
grill during the winter as much as I can, as long as it's not snowing on me. If it's cold
yeah.
outside, I don't care. I'll get that thing fired up and,
Yeah.
get out there. So,
Is that the only thing that you have then? Do you have anything else in the backyard?
nope, that's all I got right now.
Okay.
Wanted to get like, a big green egg. We like to do stuff over campfires when we go camping.
Yeah.
So we'll do a lot of like hobo stews, hobo pies, throw something directly on a fire out there.
Yeah.
Kids love brats and stuff like that. So we tend to do a
Sure.
lot of open fire stuff too. So I thought about this too before I came on the podcast. This past drill we had when we were out working with the candidates, one of our company commander actually brought out a Blackstone, and I'd never seen those before.
Yeah.
And so that was really nice because we were cooking breakfast on the skillet part of that. We were cooking some burgers and steaks and brats and stuff out there.
Yeah.
So I was definitely being spoiled. Being in the National Guard's a little different than the Corps, but yeah, it was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
it sounds like it, man. Yeah, and the Blackstone's very versatile. A lot of people are kind of going towards that. Like you said, you could do breakfast in the morning, you could do smash burgers at night, steaks, brats, whatever. It's pretty portable too.
Yeah, we threw it on
But
the back of one of our tailgates on the Hummers and just threw it up back there, linked the propane up to it, and away we
yeah,
went. So I was like, hey, this is really cool. It's kind of like having a nice little gas setup, but portable
yeah.
wherever you go. So
Yeah, you could cook a lot of food on those too. So if you're cooking for a lot of people, it's got a lot of surface area, so that's good for your when you're cooking for a large group like that. I am interested to hear more about your open fire cooking that you just mentioned. So tell me more about what was it you called Hobo Stew? What was that?
yeah, so kind of like your, some hobo pies where you kind of take whatever you want. So you got some steaks, some chicken, whatever. You throw it in some tinfoil, some potatoes, some onions, carrots. Kind of wrap it up in a little piece of tinfoil. Throw it in, the open fire. Kind of knock it around a little bit. Open that up, and it's kind of like a little hobo stew. So it's the kids love it because they can kind of. My daughter's real picky, so she likes to just kind of make her own, pretty much with just chicken and potatoes.
Okay.
My 14-year-old has had some allergy issues when he was little, but it developed a great sense of, hey, if I can try it, I'm going to try it. So he's the kid that literally tries everything.
All right.
So he'll throw a concoction of stuff into his and go from there. A lot of cast iron stuff we like doing over an open fire too. Breakfast especially, throw some good sausage links and stuff on the morning, scramble some eggs, some bacon, go away from there. So it's
Now, do you have like a setup where it's like one of those tripods that goes right over the fire, or is this you have like something that's kind of more of like a tabletop where it is like got grates that go over the fire? How do you do that?
nope. A lot of times it's just those humble pies and the tin foil just go right in the coals. So you
Okay.
kind of get a good fire going. You get a good coal surface where you kind of spread it out a little bit. Just set those right on top of the coals. And then same thing with the cast iron. You usually get some good coals going. Stick a couple logs on either side of those coals, and then just kind of rest your cast iron pot or skillet right on top of those open logs in.
Okay, so like real like simple, just like you got some tin foil, you're putting in what you want in there, chicken, potatoes. Are you doing like any seasoning or anything like that, or is it
You
just
can
kind of
season it. I love
yeah,
throwing some barbecue sauce in there,
okay.
just because it keeps it stuff moist, gives you a little flavor, kind of mixes everything together. So that's usually a big winner in our book. So that was one of the reasons why when I first saw you on Instagram and LinkedIn, I was like, oh hey, and another veteran company to try. My son just absolutely loves barbecue sauce, so I
Okay.
think he's probably your biggest critic on stuff. So the sweet
Sure,
heat is
sure.
his favorite.
All right.
Um, so yeah, we've been ordering that stuff right along. So it's
That's
been one
good.
of our
That's
favorites
good.
here.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, and it sounds like this is like real simple cleanup too. So obviously you just got some tin foil. You gotta, clean up a little bit. Maybe you got your utensils or whatever, but for the most part, it's just down and dirty. Put in what you want, throw it on the fire. When it's done, and then you eat it. And simple cleanup.
Yep, just throw the tin foil. Usually don't throw it away. Stick it in our little recycle stuff. Take it home,
Yeah.
throw it in recycle when we get home, and
Oh yeah.
call it good. Yeah, the simpler the cleanup, the better. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then when you're doing like brats or hot dogs, are you doing like do you have like those long extended poles that you do, or are you just like finding sticks in the woods and sharpening
now,
them and
now we're not. Sometimes we'll do that with some of the s'mores every now and then if we forget it. But now most of the time we got the traditional like hot dog brat sticks that we go through and do a lot of that on.
yeah. You do just from what I've seen, you do like a lot of trail stuff. You're out there on the trails with your organization, the 90-degree ascent. Why don't you talk a little bit more about that and kind of how you got involved with that, and then how you see that evolving and how you maybe incorporated some of the barbecuing and grilling into your mission there.
Yeah, it actually fits in rather well. So my wife got me into mountain biking a few years ago, and I absolutely fell in love with it. You being older, and especially in the military, you got a lot of beat up knees, beat up backs, issues like that. So,
I can
but
attest to that. Yeah.
still being in, I got to still pass my physical fitness test every year, and different stuff. So, getting on a bike was a lot easier on my knees than it was for going out for miles or runs. Kept my cardio up. But then when you get out on the trails and you go through a lot of these mountain bike trails, it's like being on a roller coaster out in the woods. It's the adrenaline rush, the thrill of kind of having the trees whisk by you. There's some trails where it feels like you're on the speeder bike on the moon of Endor,
Mm.
just flying through the woods. Uh, it's a great way to build camaraderie. So I got into it, went back to my unit. We happen to be next to some really great trails in Michigan. said, hey, you want to come ride with me? He came out and rode, went out and bought a better bike. And then that snowballed. Now there's like a good 7 or 8 of us that ride regularly. So my wife was big into yoga, had a yoga studio. We decided to say, hey, what can we do to combine the two? The yoga aspect is a lot of what brings in a lot of our stretching, our meditation. Forest therapy is something we've been researching quite a bit, just being out in the woods, and then getting on the bikes. And then the other aspect of that is when we bring our groups together, we like to stay at one place together. So we'll find an Airbnb, someplace that holds 15, 20 people, and we'll cook meals. And that's a big thing. We usually get up in the morning, do some yoga, and then we cook a big breakfast. And then we'll hang out, we'll have some community, we'll share stories, different stuff. We'll get into some of the biking, some of the other stuff. And especially at night, we'll make a big fire, cook out over that. We'll get the grills fired up. One of our guys that does our photo and videography, another old Marine Corps veteran, he gets together with a group of his old Marine Corps buddies once a year, and they have what's called a meatopolis, where the 6 of them hang out for 2 straight days and cook nothing but meats and briskets and steaks and anything they can think of. So he brings a lot of expertise to our group when we go out and do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Like, what I love about that is that it's very similar to what we're doing here with the podcast. We named it, when we named it Grilling to Get Away, it had a lot of those aspects to it, being able to take that time to reflect, and also, this was our outlet to do those types of things. And you're doing similar stuff with the mountain biking, with the yoga, with the retreats, and then also incorporating food into that, which is huge, because being able to sit down and eat a meal with people that have like experiences just is a different atmosphere, that, for veterans especially, we miss that when we get out and we get back into the civilian world. We miss that camaraderie. And so it sounds like you're building that back up through what you're doing.
Yeah, it's been really great. We some of the small things that we've actually incorporated, like cell phone free zones, have been absolutely outstanding. Just sitting around a campfire and you start talking about old movies or something, nobody can quick like Google it on their phone and then get down the rabbit hole of like, oh, well, now I'm here, I'm checking this, I'm checking that, and then get disconnected from that conversation. You're actually having to kind of use your mind and think back, and it keeps the conversation going. And yeah, we went, I think, 2 straight days and like never checked our phones, and it was great. So that the disconnect was a really big part.
Mm-hmm. So question for you, like when you're out on these retreats, like what's kind of the most interesting maybe meal that you've had with a group of people that you take out there?
We've kept it pretty simple so far. Homemade pizzas was a good one. You kind of Spartan Foods here in Michigan donated a lot of money for us on our last retreat, so we went and kind of just picked up whatever pizza toppings we could. Went through and everybody made a lot of their own homemade pizza, so kind of seeing what people like, what people don't like. I used some of your the barbecue whiskey sauce, that limited edition run you had for a while, and made an awesome barbecue chicken pizza.
Oh, thank you.
That was out there. So that, I think we haven't gotten too crazy with some of our meals. You don't want to get too crazy when you have a multitude of different people from different lifestyles, kind of coming together to, you want to make sure you can feed everybody and not have anybody too left out. So
yes. I was just going to ask, is it like, does one person take over the cooking duties, or do you spread it out through the people that are there?
So this last time, a lot of times I did a lot of the cooking. So when my wife's doing the yoga sessions in the morning, I usually got the little one by me, and then we're getting breakfast going. And then once we're kind of wrapped up with the yoga sessions, a lot of other people just kind of jumped in the kitchen and helped out, finished cutting some fruit, getting some toast and stuff going. But for the most part, that's been kind of my duty of kind of taking over a lot of that stuff. So we're looking at some other venues across the state of Michigan. Eventually, we like to expand. So we're looking to kind of expand out of Michigan to get out. So trying to find some other venues that might have other people available to cook. There's been some other hunting lodges and stuff like that that's reached out to us to show some interest to host some of our events like that. And they said, hey, we got a full kitchen staff, so we can cook for you. Then you can focus on what you got to do with your group. So, but it's fun. I enjoy the aspect of getting in the kitchen and, and preparing the meal for the people there, kind of a fatherly figure of cooking, for the family. And I take a lot of pleasure out of that.
No, that's awesome. Do you have like a go-to meal? So if you have some time, like what's your go-to thing to put on the grill if you got a little time and a little planning?
If I got a little time and a little plan right now, I'm really big into fish. So my wife doesn't eat a lot of meat, but she loves fish. So getting some good salmon fillets on the grill with a little grilled asparagus, some grilled potatoes. That's kind of my quick go-to. I can whip that up fairly quick. Um, just got in the mail your seasoning for the Fish and Wild game, so I'm excited
All
to
right.
try some of that. But no, the last batch I did, put some of that sweet heat on there, just kept skin on one side, put it down, left it on there for like 10 minutes, pulled it off. It was perfect. So that's usually my quick go-to.
Yeah.
Other than that, pizzas, man, we love pizzas here. So having stuff readily available in the fridge just to kind of whip up some pizzas real quick is always kind of another go-to.
Are you doing the pizzas on the grill?
Yes. So
Okay.
that can get a little tricky though, because you got to make sure you're not burning it. You got to make sure you got
Yeah.
kind of the one side hot, not the other side hot. Almost like not a smoking technique, but you got to make sure you don't burn that crust on the bottom while you're still getting through. So
Yeah.
someday I'd like to get like my brick oven pizza out in the backyard where I can
Sure.
throw some good wood in there and make some good homemade pizzas and stuff. So, but no, for the most part, no, just kind of stick to the oven inside or every now and then the grill outside.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind, let's stay on the pizza on the grill thing, because you've done it, and you got the gas grill. So, what kind of tips would you give to somebody that maybe be looking to, try out a pizza? I'm assuming it's a frozen pizza, or do you do like your own, crust and stuff?
No, most of the time if it's on the grill, it's the frozen pizza, and it's gonna
Okay.
be almost embarrassed to say, but I love it. It's the
Yeah.
Jack's pizzas.
Jack's, yeah.
The cheap Jack's pizzas, and then I'll add a bunch of toppings on top of that. Like I'll
Okay.
shred up some smoked Gouda with some apple and some like barbecue chicken, and add it just kind of a plain cheese pizza on there. And then I tend to keep the one side of my grill the burners on, and the other side not, so that way it gets. You want to get it good and hot, but you don't want that direct heat right on the crust. I mean, then you're just gonna have a burnt
Mm.
crust, and nothing on top is going to be cooked through.
Yeah.
One of my first experiences I tried actually cooking the pizza was out at Lake Michigan here at the beach,
Mm.
on one of those beach grills that you just kind of see everywhere. You go to a park anywhere,
Yeah.
whatever. I threw some coals on it and just threw the pizza right on the middle, and that I had a black bottom on that crust and nothing was
Uh,
done. So
yeah.
that kind of became a story that followed me around for a while. So I kind of had to practice and redeem myself over the years to kind of get that down a little bit.
Yeah, it does take a little bit of practice, especially if you're doing it, like you said, on the coals and or on like the grill. Because you got to get the top heated, you got to make sure you don't burn the bottom. So it does take a little bit of technique. Do you find yourself rotating it then throughout the cook, like just to
Uh,
make sure that?
yep, usually a couple times. Kind of get under a little bit, kind of scoot around under it, scoot around a little bit, um, just to make sure it's evenly cooked all the way around. I kind of know where my hot spots are on the grill a little bit to kind of work around that. I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't got rid of it. Just
Yeah.
I'm so in tune with what it is. So, but same thing if you're using like a charcoal grill, and if you got your coals kind of off to one corner, you want to kind of rotate a little bit. Same thing like if you had a brick oven pizza, you'd have that firewood kind of stuffed in the corner there, and you'd want to rotate that around a couple times.
Mhm. Now, do you have any upcoming cooks that you're excited about? Maybe something that you've been itching to do?
So one of the things I loved to do for a long time is I love to do a good pork tenderloin.
Yeah.
Like I said, and the wife doesn't eat a lot of meat, but now that my son and stuff are really get into it, that's a good 2 day process because I love to brine that overnight, make a really good brine, soak that thing, get it really good, and then do a nice, good, long, slow cook on the grill. So I think the weekend of October 29th coming up is when I'm going to do
Mm.
that again. That's our Michigan State football game. So
Yeah.
we're big Michigan football fans around here. That's a big game for us. So I think I'm going to set some time off and kind of maybe get the parents over to help babysit a little bit, and I can get out there and spend some time working on that. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
What do you typically put in your brine when you're doing that?
Usually like some good salt. I like using the pink Himalayan salt.
Okay.
Some good brown sugar, and then usually that's about it. Just get that salt in there, get it soaked up, get that little bit of
Yeah.
sweetness in there, and then I like doing a good rub on it when I put it on there,
Hmm.
and then having different sauces available for people that are after that. So
Yeah.
try
Now,
and
do
keep it
you?
somewhat simple.
Yeah. So keep it simple. Do you flay it all, where you like open it up and then fill it with something inside and then close it back up? Anything like that?
Nope, haven't gotten that fancy with it yet.
Okay.
So I'm always afraid I'm gonna lose some of the juice out of the middle and it's
Sure.
gonna dry out and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
no, I haven't got any fanciness with any stuffed anything yet. So
That's okay, my man. Um, so we do have a lot of people that listen to the podcast that might be new, at the barbecuing and grilling. So if you could go back in time, 20 years ago to when you first got that Weber, yeah, what would be some advice that you would give to yourself now if you could go back in time?
Get one sooner.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been one of the best things I ever got. It's got the nice little side burner on it, so I can saute some stuff on the side. If I had to go back though, I'd probably want to try and spend more time learning some more techniques, learning how to smoke, learning how to cook on some coals a little bit better. Um, I do kind of kick myself sometimes listening to your podcast, seeing other stuff out there of, all these guys that make these great, delicious looking smoked meats and stuff. I was like, man, I wish I, you know, had the ability and time to kind of do that. So, but I think that's more or less just kind of an excuse of I just haven't made the time to be able to get out and do it. So maybe this will motivate me a little bit to go out and, put on my Christmas list of getting a smoker this year and getting into it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, highly recommend it if you get a chance to do it. But yeah, it's a journey, so don't beat yourself up too much. Everybody has a different timeline, so but no, highly recommend if you get an opportunity to do it. Try it out a little bit. So advice is start sooner, which is awesome. We recommend that too. And then if you had to, what's one piece of equipment aside from the grill that like you're glad you have or you wish you would have had, when you first started?
Oh, I love a good cookbook. I think a lot of people try new recipes and they don't try them over again. They try it once and it might not turn out great, and then they don't try it again.
Yeah.
That would probably be another piece of advice: is stick to a couple things and keep working at it until you kind of got it perfected, and then move on to something else. It takes time with anything. The first time you make something, it might not be the greatest, and so just to kind of stick with it and not be like, oh, this was horrible, I'm not going to try, to make that again, and then kind of keep, working on your craft, refining it, keeping notes. That's helped me out throughout my career on anything, to always look back and say, hey, what did I do last time? Did I let my meat rest on the counter for a time before I put it out? How long did I brine it? Where did I get the meat from? All those things to kind of always look back and reflect on. I guess that'd be another good thing, is spend the extra money and get a better cut. Don't be cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting you say that. Like I like keeping notes and stuff like that. That's something I wish I would have done when I first started. So that's great advice and great tips. Ben, so it's been so awesome to have you on here and talking a little bit barbecue and grilling and stuff like that. But where can people find you? I'm assuming you have socials out there, and then also the 90-degree ascent. Where can people find you and connect with you regarding that kind of stuff?
Yep. So we're on Instagram, Facebook, the 90-degree ascent. So it's 90 and then ascent, ASCENT. Our website is www.90ascent.org. A good friend of ours, Mike, is working on getting our great video stuff putting together for us, kind of get our word out a little bit more. Yeah, so we're kind of, like I said, we're getting into a little bit, so we're trying to expand out a little bit more and get out there. But yeah, 90-degree ascent is where you can find us.
And we'll put those links out in the show notes so people can find you and connect with you. But no, it's been a pleasure to have you on, Ben. I really appreciate it. I love seeing what you're doing with other veterans, and looking forward to connecting with you hopefully in person soon. But yeah, just keep doing what you're doing and get out and grill, man.
Yeah, we'll get out to Wisconsin there and we can grill together, ride some bikes, and then have the wife kick us in some yoga for a while. So,
All right, I'm up for it.
all right, sounds good.
All right, thanks, Ben.
Yeah, thanks.